Hello, everyone. Today I want to talk about something that I've been thinking about a little bit lately, and that is this new moral elitism that seems to be running rampant in our country. It's this idea that today we've somehow achieved this level of morality that people in the past just never could achieve, and that we're the ultimate measure of good, and that everyone else now needs to go back and be judged in some harsh light. And I don't like this as an artist. I don't like it as a Christian, and I don't like it as a citizen of a free country. Some of the issues that I have with this idea are that we end up throwing a lot of really good things away, while at the same time lifting ourselves up to some made up, elevated status that is not actually real. Okay, so it's fictitious. And I think the issue here is that we fluctuate. One of the really popular things to do is look at people from the past, scholars, public figures, people like our founding fathers, who had a character flaw, and then we denounce everything they said, everything they discovered, everything they invented, everything that they achieved, and try to basically make an ad hominem attack on them, on the grounds that because they did something bad, that everything they said and did was worthless. We should tear down their statues, throw away everything that they ever achieved. And I think this is an absurd notion. Okay. For one thing, I think one thing we need to do is we need to look back and realize that for thousands and thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of years, the world operated in a manner that was somewhat barbaric. Okay, so we get this idea. Specifically, people are attacking the idea of America right now, with all the elections and everything going on. So we say that Americans came and we took the America from the Native Americans, which is true, and it is a horrible thing. But one thing we have to realize is that conquest was the way of the world as far back as we have recorded history. It's just the way that people lived. It's not right, it's not good, maybe, but it was the way the world is. And after America was founded and the ideas of America shaped this modern world that we live in, now we look back on hindsight and say, bad America. Shame on you, America. How dare you, right? Even though it was our ideals that now point us to such prosperity that we have time to really think about morality. And so we took the land from the Native Americans. But one thing we need to realize is that the Native Americans were already fighting each other over the land, and that this was not like in Hollywood, where all the Native Americans were sitting around in their teepees, smoking and having a good old time, being super peaceful and loving. There was a lot of conflict, and some of it was a very ugly conflict. And I'm not saying anything negative about Native Americans. Like I said, this is the way the world operated. It's everybody of every race, of every ethnicity. It's just something that occurred. And I believe America has done has made great strides, and has paved the way for feeling the way that we feel right now about those types of things. Before, it was just that's the way it was. Once again, this is wrong. But this is not an American invention, and it's not something that we should look down on all the great philosophers and scientists and theologians and great men of the past because they engaged in conquest. We should realize that they're a product of their time. And they're going to engage in certain beliefs and practices that are not good just because probably because they haven't had time to think every single issue through. And I think, really, to be honest, today we're so much more intellectually lazy than many of our founding fathers and people like that we probably should not say anything, because these people may have some failings on certain issues, but we probably have a lot less consistency in our thoughts than they do. And I think inconsistency is just a part of human nature. We're not going to be able to think through every single thing, but I try my best to be consistent in my thought. And so I discover where I haven't been, and then I try to correct that. And I try to flesh out my thinking on different areas. So let me just jump back. I'm getting kind of down a rabbit hole here. So let me jump back into this American theme. America comes, takes the land from the Native Americans, and then we have slavery. Okay, and so slavery, another disgusting, abhorrent practice. But it's American ideals that ended up ending slavery. We believe that all people were created equal and that we all have dignity because we're made in the image of God. And it's those kinds of ideas that end up inevitably ending slavery. And then we want to come back today and look on people who own slaves, like George Washington, and say, oh, look at that wicked, wicked man. Once again, if we look back at a practice that had gone on just like conquest, slavery has been a part of human history as far back as we have history, so recorded history. So we don't know, what happened before recorded history, but we know as far back as we can look, there seems to be examples of slavery. And like I said, it's a disgusting practice, but, these people, just like we do today, try to weed out bad practices as they go. And there's things, one of the things I'm thankful about is that being a Christian, I have a moral anchor that helps me. And so as society shifts back and forth over what they think is right and what they think is wrong, Christians are relying on God to tell them what's right in His Word and what's revealed, and we don't sway back and forth like a reed in the wind. God is unchanging, and so we know that all humans have dignity and that one thing is right and one thing is wrong with relative certainty. We make mistakes and we interpret things incorrectly, but for the most part, we don't sway about. And that's one of the things I love about Christianity, other than, its truth and its and the hope that it offers, and all the there's many countless things that spring forth from it. But one of the great things is it gives you a moral compass. Okay, and I feel like the world doesn't have that, and so we want to become a moral elitists and say, look at these bad people, look what they did, and A is wrong and B is right, and then later on, as time changes, we'll say, well, oh, that actually A was right and B was wrong. And then, over the passage of time, that view will be reversed again. But Christians always stand firm, right, where they need to be for the most part. Like I said, there's human error. God is perfect, but there is human error involved, just like in anything that humans are involved in. Okay? But one of the big issues here is that you want to take and you want to point that gun of moral elitism at people in the past. But remember, in generations to come, your offspring, the people that are going to proceed from you, are going to one day turn around and point that same gun back at you. And you want them to look at you with understanding eyes, saying, oh, well, this is a good person. He had good intentions. This person had really good intentions, but they were human, they were imperfect, and they held some flawed views. So for the most part, this is a wonderful person who did great things for society, but here and there they had their moral failings. We all have our moral failings, and I think that's something that we need to realize as humans. Okay, so, when you look back from an artist's point of view, almost every artist was flawed in some kind of way. Picasso was a chauvinist pig, right, from today's standards. Rape culture, okay. Michelangelo Buonarroti. Can I no longer like Michelangelo because, he was also somewhat sexist? If you recall, there's the story, I don't know how historically accurate it is, that Michelangelo gets in a spat with Da Vinci, and he tells him that, what do you know? Basically, I'm paraphrasing, what do you know? You're just a painter, and painting is for women and children, right? Elevating his own medium, sculpture, up to this grand height, and then lowering painting, saying that that's not even for real men. Does that mean Michelangelo's evil? Or does that mean he's a product of his time, when people had some incorrect views about women. I feel like, we need to be careful. We need to be very careful with that. We don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. This is a very dangerous line of thinking. If you're waiting for the perfect human being to come along, you're going to be waiting all eternity, because there will not be one. There will not be one. If you're waiting for the perfect person to come along to build a statue of them, and we're going to tear down all the statues in the meantime, you will wait forever, and there will never be any statues. The statues do not represent a person's moral failings. They're supposed to represent the good things about that person, okay, and elevate that. It's not saying everything that person did was great and we should worship that person like an idol. That is absolutely not what's supposed to be done, As an artist and as a Christian, I feel like I have a voice that needs to be weighed in on this topic. And I say, you have to throw away every scholar, every artist, every pastor, every theologian, every great thinker, every man of integrity that tried to do great things in the world, because every single one of us has moral failings. All have fallen short of the glory of God. There is none righteous, no, not one. Okay, so we need to be very careful with this gun that we have, that we're pointing at everybody right now, called moral elitism. All right, guys. Until next time.